Oh, welcome. I have to wait until everybody's there. At 2 p.m., we'll have a discussion about involving women in cybersecurity. Thank you for your presence here today. I hope you got time to read the Cybersecurity, the Human Factor, which is a brilliant article in the Harvard Business Review. In this article, you will find out basic principles that will help you in your cybersecurity career. Thank you for your messages. I hope everyone is fine, and I hope everybody is fine in your family. It's a confinement time, and it's somehow good for our resilience. And we are going to have a discussion on involving women in cybersecurity. You will see how this can help everybody in the cyber community have a better life balance. Think about your own resilience and your longevity is a key issue for your career. I have invited a few Indian IT students, and I'm very pleased to see some of them are joining. I think it's a very good thing to share beyond cultures what we do in cyber, and it's a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you. Indian people are also confined, by the way. Thank you. In 5 minutes' time, we're going to kick off this talk. I wanted this talk to be in English because I like the fact of opening, the frontiers and trying to be connected. I know also for a fact that in your career, having a good level of English is key. And many concepts actually in cybersecurity are conveyed, are transmitted in this language. So I tried to put as much vocabulary I could in the presentation. We're still waiting for everybody to join, so this is why I'm a bit filling the time. At the end of the talk, I will send you a survey for your assessment. Please be kind enough to take time and give your feedback. And through Julien Breault, your professor, you will also get a quiz. The questions are easy. Just take time, pace yourself, take time to think about the answers. Most of the time, it's a multiple choice quiz. Most of the time, a few answers have to be ticked. Julien, you tell me if I have to start or if I wait still 3 minutes. I'm okay, I'm all right. I think there's no rush. Everybody's got time, I believe. All right. So maybe I can already tell you while we're waiting about the possibilities to ask questions. We will use the little chat tool, and if the question needs answer right away, then you will type now in capital letters before your questions. And I will try to incorporate my answer inside my talk. If your answer can be, if your question can be asked at the end, then you put end in capital letters, or Q&A for questions and answers. Question and answers is some exchange at the end of a talk. Q&A. So I drink a bit. Okay, superb. So let's get going. You have your PDF. So I will tell you when we switch from one slide to the other. All right. So this talk, I entitled it "Two Need to Know," and I precise always one woman should be involved. This is my conclusion after preparing my presentation. Basically, we have to take a few measures, including this one. In slide 2, I present the plan, how we will go through this topic. We will go through it in 4 parts. First of all, I would like to just give you an overall context of women in the digital workplace, okay? Because we're focusing on cybersecurity, but there is already a lot to say about women in the digital workplace. So the second part effectively will be focusing on the reality of women in cybersecurity. So we will split this part into 4 parts. I will detail later. Once we have characterized this reality, we will try to find solutions. We will try to better the situation. And to end the presentation, we will focus on evaluating, because there is no, it's not interesting to propose solution and not to evaluate them. All right. So where do I come from? I've been working in cybersecurity since 7 years. I was IT coordinator and responsible for the cybersecurity at an end customer. It was an SME. So we were about 50 people, but the technology was really top technology, and our affiliates were in Africa and Australia. So I had to deal with many IT systems, and we had a few cybersecurity adventures, I must say, like a CryptoLocker or Insider on our voice on IP or video conferencing system. So this was really hands-on experience for me. So I loved so much cybersecurity. I wanted to become a project manager, which I did for more than 3 years actually at a cybersec service provider. I belong to a few associations in cybersecurity, which allows me to share and to know what methodologies or technologies are currently state of the art. And also I have some social connectedness with female cybersec counterparts. So their stories I know a lot of their own professional experience through this. In Q4 2001, I was in Japan, in Waseda University, where I studied gender studies amongst other MBA classes. But I mean, this has been a really crucial class for me, the gender studies. My teachers were mainly American. And I am a coach in resilience with Ayurveda. Okay, so I help customers maintain their health and have a good balance and longevity, especially women. And actually, I'm doing some research action for the cyber community well-being. So in this talk, I hope you will be able to take advantage of my experiences. And this is where I'm coming from, basically. So what readings can I recommend you to understand the subject a bit further, and what is it based on? I learned so much when I was in Scotland by listening to the podcast of BBC4, the podcast called Women's Hour. Women's Hour, you can listen to top women thinkers, and they talk about many things, including of course, work life. I recently read The Fundamental Que sais-je, only issued in 2019, on harcèlement sexuel and also violence conjugale, because actually what's happening to women in society also have impact on their work life. So basically for precisely the work sphere is really important. Everyone reads harcèlement sexuel, que sais-je. There is a very good website, Souffrance et Travail, from Marie Pézé, who speaks on TV quite a lot. And all right, let's skip that. You can already read many more things than just these, but these are good readings and audio material. So I explained what are the possibilities of asking me question. You can, in the chat box, say now and type your question. Then I will as soon try to answer if I can. Else you can put Q&A and your question, and then I will be able to answer it at the end of this talk. Is it all right for everybody? So there is a rule. I think it's, not to judge ourselves with regards to everything we're going to talk about, because you might be triggered. I mean, you can some positions or some beliefs might not convene to everybody. It's also requiring from everybody, ladies and young professionals, to go sufficiently deep inside and try to be attentive to how they behave, what is the root of their behaviors, what beliefs they have. So just feel normal, and everybody's benevolent in this discussion. All right. So what we've got, we are at slide 6. Slide 6. Basically, women in digital companies account for 21% of the workforce. It means 1 staff out of 5 is a woman. This figure is significant. So what gender studies are, it started in the 1990s. It focused largely on the mythology surrounding gender and how gender relation affects our cognitive system, our family system, and hence our labor force. So based on these sociological studies, there has been laws for equal employment opportunity and gender equality. Okay, and some trends like feminism, ecofeminism, which is rising, it's on the rise nowadays, masculinity studies, and even queer studies, which studies sexual orientation, etc. So when we look at it from a high point of view, actually, healthy relationship with women, with no violence, no abuse, no ignoring, are not so frequent around the world. But all this is partly just cultural. It's difficult to set to take a distance, because gender is embedded so deeply in nearly everything we do and think that it's quite difficult to become conscious of the way we literally gender our world and create hierarchies that empower some people and diminish others. So just have a look. I want to emphasize on the fact we are in 2020 and women earn 81 cents for every euro earned by men. So in the end, working 40 years is for a man ends up being like 32 years if they had a women's salary. So I hope I try to make my point, but just to see cybersecurity in itself is also a power artifact. Okay, not only money is a power artifact. Cybersecurity has some power artifact because it was in the state's hand, the military, and also nowadays it's mainly in authorized companies' hands. So there's a tendency not to let it go too much to women, because it would be empowerment. You know what I mean? The slide 9 is more or less about the same idea. Let's go faster. Okay, workplace is not so peaceful with regards to gender when we really look at it. Female can be ignored, or we can rationally argument rejection or letting aside, or sometimes there is sarcasm or dubious sexist humor, or not targeting a woman in particular, but just having talks that humiliate gender, have general consideration about women, which is sometimes intimidating women. Okay, and some women who are overtly successful, nobody can really contest. They have a huge professional success. Sometimes they trigger jealousy in some peers, even some women and some men. So some plan to deter them. To deter means like convince them not to be so ambitious, or even to make them fail. Also, there is a very good way to make a woman fail. It's just to sexually harass her, because it takes energy from her. Okay, it doesn't allow her to concentrate, to focus on her work. That's really, really detrimental to women. So basically what my talk is about is cyber peace, and cyber teams do not need that. On the contrary. So together, let's observe and work it out. My approach, I base, sorry, I have a call. So actually, I base my thinking on Ayurveda, which is an ancient health system for harmony and longevity. It's a special approach where you analyze people about each birth constitution. You analyze people individually based on the age, the sex, everything. Everything can come into play to better analyze peers, better analyze people. It's very useful for negotiation, very useful for your professional life. Okay, it's like 4,000 years old about. In written, with written support. So also there is anthropology and gender studies, which I talked about. And my purpose is actually to understand the phenomena, why women inclusion is so mitigated. Okay, the percentage was 11%. It dropped to 7% of the workforce in cybersecurity. So there's something to explain. So according to me, and you will see why later on, there are natural and cultural factors. Okay, it's a combination of those two factors. Can I ask you if everything is fine for everybody? I'm checking, okay. Okay. All right. Nowadays, we focus on the situation of female inclusion in the workplace. We will go through 4 subparts. Let's observe, then characterize, then explain, and ask ourselves, in fact, after all, why change? So I will ask you to exercise your detective skills. It's fun to try and use your intuition about people. Sometimes it helps go very fast, because when you let your mind work this way, you find things sometimes much faster than rational reasoning. All right? So trust yourself, find information. I'm sure you're all fond of OSINT, open source intelligence. You all know, of course, LinkedIn. So it's easy for you to look through the CVs of some ladies in cybersecurity, and you will find very interesting facts, like disruptions. So you can ask yourself, why? Was she harassed, or is it only competence? What happened? It's not necessarily she had kids and wanted to take time off work. Things are much more complex, and you can find out by yourselves. Sometimes also you can try and compare women and men with the same competence. Do they reach the same high responsibilities based on the same competence? I want to recall you a fact. First, an anecdote, and then a fundamental fact. An anecdote. There has been issues due to female staff presence at night in a SOC, Security Operations Center, which works 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so the teams, they were also present at night, and some ladies were there. And the HR had to actually prevent women from coming on the night shift. Okay. So it's because they were a minority, okay? If it was more female, if these issues had happened, if the dominant group was female, so then the few men who would have been there would have been the ones not being able to reach the office at night. But, the situation is we had to remove the woman. What is the fundamental trend that we observe in cybersecurity, and this is all over the world? We have seen a lot of CISO burnouts, okay? We have seen a lot of addiction in pen testers, what we call ethical hackers, because they are so geared to, they want to compete, they want to find, and they keep working very hard at night, and sometimes they drink a lot of even Red Bull or things that are not good for the health, coffee, blah blah, and even more sometimes. So nowadays we realize that cyber has special kind of unbalances, and also in cyber crisis team, professionals find out that they get quite exhausted, because crisis after crisis, especially in these days with coronavirus, is very difficult to sustain the intensity of the job. So it's difficult, of course, even more for a woman, and you will see why nature comes into play in the solution part, where I go deep into women nature to better understand why some women just get away, because it's difficult to sustain. And we have seen a very characteristic wave of female creating their own startups, okay, digital startups, or women in cybersecurity going independent. So we have to ask ourselves why. These are just observations. We have to look more into what we call occupational exposure. Occupational exposure, it's risk factors that are intrinsic to the task we ask the agent, or which derive from the working conditions. Okay, so for example, if you are in such a working situation where there is no cultural acceptance of you as a woman giving it the instructions, there is no internalization of the main staff about the hierarchical link and the chain of command and the authority, regardless of the sex. Okay, if this is not interiorized, there are going to be problems. Of course, we have talked about the special SOC work situation, where the space is a bit tiny, people in the same room for long hours. So the space constraint is some hindrance to women long-term involvement. And also in crisis management, because crisis is not waiting for the staff to be available. Crisis is now. Whatever you do, you drop it, and you're active on the issues. Okay, so this time management is not easy to deal with. So HR and management need to really think about an organization, and you will see the measures we can put in place, how to, as an organization, be highly resilient, highly reliable, and be able to deal with these time constraints. Of course, there can be, in cybersecurity, when you go in the job, for now, you're students, but you will very fast understand that cybersecurity is also about finding out the digital proofs. And the digital proofs, sometimes, some people want to erase them. They're not happy with these digital proofs to remain. So you can find yourself in a situation where you get pressured to erase digital proofs. So you have to be very ethical. You have to be very strong in your stress management. And this is what I call a contradictory injunction situation. You have injunction from the law, which tell you you have to conserve the proofs. And you can have top management telling you, you lose your job if you don't erase that now. Okay. So also you can have a situation, especially for female, where basically you end up with the bad projects because no one wanted it, because basically it was bound to fail. It was just too complex. There was no budget. There was no sponsor. What we call a sponsor in professional life is like you have somebody at the top management who really says this project is key. This project is important for our company. Okay, someone from the COMEX, So the project which have no one to impose to everybody. Okay, work together. Follow your leader and do what she says. Then you're a bit you're in a bad situation. Actually, you have more. You have an occupational exposure, which puts you at risk. It has some physiological and mental impacts on people. Okay. So we are in slide 18. I hope you all still follow. Let's try to characterize these waters in which women have to swim. I will give you a few elements in cybersecurity. I call them soft habits. I mean, it's a question. It's not soft skills. Soft skills is like people have trained, they have human excellence, and they try to have good interpersonal interaction in the professional sphere. But this is soft habits in cybersecurity for some men that have to be changed. So some of them have a determination not to obey instruction from a woman, not to consider nor hear a woman. Although there is most of the time good rescue team mentality in cybersecurity, which is good, some people have a hero complex, like they have the knowledge, they have the truth, and they want individual honors, okay? So they want the success, for example, to get out of a crisis, to be the ones who made it. And that's bad. And the CISOs now have understood it's important to share the responsibility, to make everybody account and be responsible for cybersecurity. So we have lost so many years because of this hero complex. So some men have very little communication skill. They're more at ease with computers than women. And sometimes they make differences between females based on appearance. So they also can make machist humor to destabilize women. There is a penetration rhetoric and phantasm in cybersecurity. Always talking about pen test, intrusion. Okay, if this is factual, we're talking about work, fine. If it's always to make, these jokes, dubious jokes all day long, it's just a bit okay. So sometimes also you can get temptation to use your skills to observe women intimacy or threat to do it, which is just as bad. Okay, it has an impact. And sometimes we get also colleagues who are ex-militaries, and we can really feel that they have a kind of fear towards women in the workplace because they've not been used enough to male-female interprofessional exchanges. That is not concerning all agents in cybersecurity. So I really put this forward. It's just a tiny bunch of people, but you have to be very aware if you want things to change. Just spot it, right? So it could explain a light desertion, like we see from 11% to 7%. It's not, this data is not encouraging younger generations. And often, let's be clear, women in cybersecurity are in marketing, communication, HR, they're journalists, sometimes they do secure development, some pen test, sometimes they are CISO assistants, but very rarely CISOs themselves. So actually, all in all, they are not in real cyber, but they are in support or peripheral jobs for now, all right? So you will see my recommendation for women to get involved because you are ladies, you are trained, you are technically top-notch, and you can add some also organization skills and overcome this. But just situation now is this. Because when we talk about big infrastructures, big IT infrastructures, we talk about big responsibilities. There's a lot of money involved. My data center, for example, cost 1 million euro to set up. All these technologies I had to bring in, install, exploit. In the first year, the budget was 1 million euros for only 50 person SME. And then the budget of exploitation every year was 40,000 euro, 400,000 euros. So quite a bunch of money. So usually it's a man heading IT exploitation, whether it's the build phase or the run phase. And it's the same for cybersecurity. It costs quite a lot of money and it's strategic. So basically, there's kind of tradition to hand it over to a man. It has to change. We see, so there is a resentment to give her the controllers and command. And I want to make a remark. There is no resentment to trust a single man for key cyber operations. Most of the time, this is a good recipe for points of failures, all right? So we really have to think deeply about these things. The cornerstone notion in cybersecurity, the notion of le droit d'en connaître, okay? The confidentiality and the right to know. It's more often than not evoked to justify letting ladies apart, okay? So it's not a reason, okay? It is a leitmotif, but it's not a good reason. And we can see that the best salaries, bonuses, advantages, power, and comfort usually is male, also in this sector. So there are many forces that works against full female inclusion in cybersecurity decision-making structures. Now let's explain. Are you all with me? All right. So let's explain. I took data from DARES. They have a very interesting website. And if you read at the middle of the text, we can see they try to find some clues of explanation. To me, it's very light explanation, but at least it's some explanation. They say, peut-être en raison de certains stéréotypes de genre, de l'usage de l'informatique différenciée chez les jeunes filles et garçons, ou encore d'une plus difficile conciliation entre la vie familiale et vie professionnelle dans les sociétés de services informatiques. Okay, that's quite true. These are clues for explanation. It's highly insufficient explanation. But anyway, I would summarize it saying, okay, it's true that women are geared towards resilience because they are highly sensitive to their environment. So they turn away faster when it is not sustainable. And you will see, this is linked to our nature. And until now, women have kept many things for themselves and tried to adapt, to cope. That's the word. So we can try to instill rules in people, in students, or in new staff from day one, making it clear there is no third chance for lapses if workers misbehave. Okay? So whistleblowing once or twice for a woman should be not seen as offensive, but as legitimate. Okay? And this fact of taking time to wait for a true response from the hierarchy is actually a time needed to assess reality of offenses, you know. It's really important that the lady is honest in her reporting, okay? That they are witnesses, okay? And there should be also a clear path for whistleblowing, okay? It's not the direct boss because let me tell you, sometimes the direct boss can have a problem with the author or the offender. I mean, a professional competition can be between him and this person, so it will mix up the problem solving. So actually, it's really someone from in their hierarchy who is an HR person trained to receiving this kind of testimonies and correctly dealing with it. So basically, in a mail, I wanted to share with you, but I'm not sure it's so easy with the chat to have your response. I wanted to have you think about what happens in a male-dominated group like cybersecurity group when a woman is here, and what is her presence causing, what also her behaviors can have as an impact on the group. I would like you to think. I pace myself to try and let you think for yourself. Do you think that lady students are informed at the same level as their counterparts? What level of social connectedness do they have? Of intellectual interchanges with their counterparts? Do you think it's as intense as in between male students or not? Just be honest with yourself. There's no judgment about this. And also ladies can try and assess if they feel they have as much connectivity with you. I would like a few answers in the chat if you think this is actually different. That's interesting. Okay. True. All right, so I am on slide 24. So it's something that's calculable. It's calculable even more in our confinement situation. Let's think just of the fact nowadays all students are scattered, everyone at each home, and the girl have calls or mails or chat or video with some students. Okay, it's important to see that actually from a top perspective, we can quantify if they have as much connectedness, social connectedness with everybody as men have between themselves. All right? Just for yourself, and there's no judgment about this, our ideologies of everyday life influence over women's careers, because it influences on the type of mission they get, on the tools and competence on the tools they master, okay, on the competencies they have, on their motivation and enthusiasm. All in all, on their work-life realization in cybersecurity. So basically, I have suggested you make a kind of self-observation, and you find what are your most subtle daily answers to why include women and why not include women. Okay? You might have some answers to both those questions. If you try to record for a week your verbal and non-verbal messages, actually not involving women is also an answer, okay? It's you will find subtleties. You will be attentive to visible, tangible things and intangible things, and it will reshape your mind. It will certainly change a lot of things in the way you interact. But I will tell you, after all, why change? Everything's fine. Well, we are not enough. We are not enough in cybersecurity. Also, we are not resilient. We are not reliable organization. You have read the article from about cybersecurity, the human factor, and you have seen the requirements in terms of binôme, backup, and you see that most of companies nowadays in cybersecurity, either service provider or at end customer, they rely on not enough staff. They don't have the rotation needed. So if one is ill, if one gets coronavirus. So what's in his brain? Did he fill some other counterpart brain with it? No. Most of the time the answer is no. Okay, we talk about the resilience of systems. It's very good to have a backup system. But what about us? What about human brains backup? All right, so I think we really need to involve more women, okay? We can't afford to not use them. And also, it's very good for everybody's personal money box. Actually, we will all make more money if we are very attentive to skilling up everybody. For some people, for some personal history, interpersonal is not always easy, especially with women. But you have to work on this now when you're young, because it's a very, very positive things for your life. So we also have the collective performance at stake. The more relationships we have, the less bias we have in our search for solutions, the better. We have seen that companies make more money. They make more money and they are more sustainable when at the COMEX, the executive committee levels, we have women involved. It's also very good for life quality and length. I will tell you later on why, and for society's harmony and resilience. So, well, you can have a good read, which is Nudge, the book from the economics Nobel Prize called Richard Thaler. Basically, Richard Thaler tells us that the hypothesis of classical economics is that all the agents have all the information and they are rational. That is to say, they take the right decision for their purse, for themselves. But actually, isn't true. He has made he has really made a big change in the economics community by saying that actually agents do not have all data, and even if they had, they do not act according to their best benefits, even health benefits. Okay, so he explains that we have cognitive bias that we already knew, especially because we have gender bias, but also because people make judgments which are heuristic judgments. I don't know if you know about this. Basically, it says that most of us, we don't have a lot of time. So in life, we make a lot of decisions based on the rule of thumb, like, okay, because in this situation, blah, 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 and we guess and we jump to conclusion. It's called heuristic judgments. And basically, why do I introduce Richard Thaler in this talk is basically, I can tell you all the good rational reasons to include women, but in the end, that's not going to make you change your mind. Okay, so it's just to be a bit modest about what I can do. It's, I try to explain. You will also, with your booklet, find out and explain even more. But all in all, it's not necessarily something that will trigger new behaviors, right? Also, why do we reflect about this on a higher level? It's good for nature, because I told you females are highly sensitive to their environment, so it's good for the workplace. Nowadays we talk about happiness managers, but actually it's a bit this trend that I think is at stake. Is like trying to all be more sensitive, all trying to have a more sustainable work life. It's good for nature, for the ecosystems. It's important for collective resilience. It's important for balanced, sound, ethical behaviors. And I told you, for wealth, less bias in risk management thinking, and for business continuity, because if you have more women, you have more cybersecurity binomes. So we're going to secure more of the economy. How to change? We are reaching now the slide 30, and we're going to talk about how to change. We will going to present solutions. Okay. Can you rephrase? Please, is it for Q&A or just now? And then there is a question, can you rephrase? Don't you think that certain women can feel embarrassed and humiliated by conferences asking for their equality by insisting on what they can sometimes or not meet within their career? Just rephrase, because I don't understand. But the other quota question is fine, I understand. And Baptiste, do you want an answer now? Okay, Baptiste, you can do things, and I will jump to solution now. So if you still have a question after my four-part chapter on the solution, then you will let me know. We are at slide 30. So let's go through what is the nature of women, okay, the solution. What is a woman? And let's have a look to what is a woman life. So you have a small drawing here where you see a man from birth to elderly age and a girl from baby to elderly woman. I will explain what Ayurveda says about these stages because it will open your eyes on a few things. Well, we say that the human body is made of the elements that we find in the universe, okay? That is earth, water, fire, and air. And whether the sex, no matter the sex, we all go through 3 phases in our life, which is the construction phase, the earth phase, building up the body, okay? It's up until we grow to an adult size. So this is called kappa phase. It means earth phase, construction phase. And then there is the fire phase. The fire transforms wood into light and energy and heat. And so it's our working life. We all have a time in our life where we are in an energy which allows us to transform, like fire transforms, okay? And then we have the elderly age startings depending, like 60, 70, depends. And the women go through menopause and men andropause. And then we have the vata, like air element rising. In our body, we have more dryness. Okay, on devient plus sec en fait. Actually, these different stages, you can observe it in all latitudes, okay? Even if these terminologies come from India, you can observe this in any culture. So why do we go through this? We go through this to explain that humanity goes through cycles, like the seasons are cycles, and everybody, men and women, we have cycles in our life, all right? And we will go deeper in even deeper in the cycles of women, okay? So you understand more that the agents, the people who are working with you, they have a certain support, okay? They have software, which is here, and the body, which is a kind of support, like in any IT system. So we consider now women, what are the women different types of characters of body of support. So basically, it's like for men. In Ayurveda, we can analyze the nature of men, but it's not a discussion today. So I just showed you the different types of women, knowing that there are subtleties. Most women don't drop into one of these categories. It would be too easy. Actually, most of us have a double constitution. Actually, we have double profiles. But just to make it simple, I will propose you just to explain the single profile of the air woman fire woman and water woman, water or earth woman to the right. So they have a birth constitution where the air element is the dominant element. Okay, so they are tall, thin, with thin, for example, thin bristles. Okay, thin articulations, and they are very communicative. They like a lot of movement, and they do also a lot of movement. Okay, these are the air females. You have the fire female. So this is the center profile in the slide 33. She is a little bit tiny. She has very brilliant eyes. She's very sharp. She grasps everything fast. She talks little, synthesizes a lot, but she's straight to the point, and she doesn't like to lose time. All right. So you also have the earth woman, who is a lady with most ample shape, most ample bones and breast, and she is a very empathetic person. She will want long-term relationships. She is very sad if something is going wrong in her interpersonal relationships. So this lady is more anchored. She wants stable situation. Okay, she cannot switch from one job to the other like that. It's traumatizing for her. All right. So I make it very, very short because we're not going to spend too much time. It's just a hint to explain you that most of the time you have women who have two constitution in one. So they can be air and fire. So they will have characteristics of the middle woman and the one to the left. Okay, or they can be mixed between the middle one and the one to the right. Okay, and most rarely the one to the extremes, the one to the left and the one to the right. Okay, is everybody here? So we have several challenges in as a woman, because there is hormones. We have a cycle which is much more shorter, okay, which is 28 days, and it's a real life challenge to keep equilibrium and harmony within all these phases. Okay, so between puberty and menopause, we have the fire stage, okay, which I explained with the cycles, the periodic cycles, and our hormones, who are the bio energies supporting all this. They don't like stress. They don't like hyperactivity. They don't like mental burden, the fact of thinking of kids while you work, etc. Having double day work. They don't like adversity. So all things about crisis is very, it's not good for hormones. They don't like trauma, like, when you have your company's IT scrambling down. So it's a bit of a trauma. We don't do enough exercise. In our jobs, we're always sitting in front of a computer. We eat junk food. There are a lot of life speed changes. Sometimes we're peaceful. We're making up our recovery plan. We have plenty of time. And sometimes we have to rush for some crisis. So it's very good. The stay-home work life nowadays is very important for everybody to better our balance. Here I have explained in the Ayurveda terms the female cycle. I switch because, okay, I don't have time to detail. Just to tell you that female are very sensitive to the environment. This I already said. Slide 36, I switch. Now we've studied a bit, okay, the biology, because it's what is at the base of everything. Now, solutions. Basically, you have read this article about reliable organization, and you have seen the different factors like integrity, and you see that basically women can completely tick all the boxes in this in this article. They can have integrity, depth of knowledge, procedural compliance, a questioning attitude. They can be a reliable backup, okay? And they can take charge as much as men, okay, and make everyone feel accountable. So it's important to stop denial about this mitigated inclusion. And also, just let me talk about a few pitfalls that we've seen from women predecessors. And we can see that some women try to get visibility, undeserved visibility, and they make too much noise sometimes to make their way. And it's really pissing everybody off, not just men, okay? Just want you to know. Some also manipulate to get to some jobs, and or they use undeserved privileges. Sometimes we've seen also even in cybersecurity false accusation of harassment, sexual harassment, from people you know they've not done it, and this is pissing everybody off. So I just want to say it's very important to be honest in the way we behave. So this article is a cornerstone article, and what I recall from it is that binômes making training backup, training people to have some rotations, not be with just one knowing and the other one not knowing. We have to supervise with two people most of cybersecurity operations, and one must be a woman. This is the simple rule that I propose for you to involve more women. So it's important also to recall from this article that it's the formal communication, having formality in our communications is key to success, actually. So nowadays we have the social distanciation, and I think it's very important that we treat everybody equally. You know, there's no someone we say tu, someone we say vous, someone we kiss, someone we don't. Actually, this is introducing some familiarity, and this is not super efficient for a neutral mind, and to just apply the recommendations from this admiral. All right, so we are at slide 41. I go faster. So my recommendations about recruitment. It's important to find solutions to minimize the occupational exposure, like minimize stress, hyperactivity, mental burden, etc. So this is the way we can attract more women and retain them. Slide 44. I made a movie flyer if you want to read it. So the HR director is your wife or girlfriend. Well, don't expect more women in your staff, nor at visible and powerful levels. I just want you to think a bit. It's the bad movie scenario, okay? where the HR lady, the HR manager, is actually the girlfriend of some top managers. This is not necessarily official. Most of the time it is, but and this has an impact, and you can't erase this reality and do as if it won't have an impact on which girl go through the recruitment process and which girl don't go through. Okay, it will not be based only on competence. All right, so this because nobody talks about it, it's very taboo. Is a situation which happens quite a lot in the digital companies, not only the SMEs, it can also happen in big companies. But basically, this is major stumbling blocks on the way for female professionals to get into the workplace. So, slide 45. These are my recommendations for career management of ladies. Super important that HR manager read the booklet I've told you about, the sexual harassment one. The statistics are really, really impressive, because we realize that so little is actually goes out, But in this book, you find that the tip of the iceberg is already important. So basically, we can more or less trust the figures that is a situation where many women many women experience. Of course, flexible time management is super important. Working from home, it will increase women presence in the workplace. It's super possible in cybersecurity to do the home, distance working, remote working, or mobility working. We have solutions for administration to be done, even IT job, critical IT operations on servers and about cybersecurity can be done from remote. So really, it's the job for cybersecurity architects, which some of you might become. I love this type of professionals because they have so many things to explain, and cybersecure architecture are so interesting. So basically, you are the ones who will make everybody be able to work securely from home on these IT architectures. Okay, it's important to train women to lead and be directors. Okay, let's switch to slide 46. Well, I have made an ebook about resilience, and I believe that especially women will adhere to these ideas of wellness at work, and being in a mindset where you prevent team from falling into physiological imbalances. I have met so many CISOs who reach their retirement with a very poor health, and it's very sad because I don't think they will really enjoy their retirement. So I think having more women in the workplace, they will think more about their health all along their career. Okay, and there's a fourth solution. It's female professional reskilling. When they are in IT, they can easily go into cyber, provided they give themselves some means. Some means which can be online, going to events, belonging to clubs, getting in touch with brands to help them test their solution, build up user clubs and communities. Most trademarks, most cybersecurity brands, they have very little time to develop what we call user clubs, user communities. And if you students, you at home, you propose your skills to help them known, to help discuss about how the tool is used, they will surely accept and even probably reward you. All right. So this was an idea for reskilling and also getting involved with the brands. Oh, the slide 49 you will read by yourself. It's a recap. And then what I propose, I will talk only 5 more minutes and then we will go to question and answer. Part 4 is evaluation. It's very key that, okay, you understand all the concepts in the article, Cybersecurity, the Human Factor. I think you like this article. I love this article. It's really a cornerstone article. And I think you can try to implement, try to think about organization that are reliable. So in your group works, or when you have work for your university, try to think about this principle and implement them. And if you can, you try to set up an equality and neutral mind program in your university with this little booklet that I told you about. And then you will find some differences on the way you cooperate, on the way the ambience develops along the year, along this confinement. And you will surely come back with some benefits. First of all, first thing to do after this talk is really try to check up whether you are in a binôme with a lady. Okay, make sure you work shoulder to shoulder with her. You're not in the same room, but you can remotely have a daily conf call. You can try to not be in competition, but be in good cooperation together. And okay, this doesn't prevent you from keeping your natural, let's say, cooperation with other team members, but everybody must have one lady to coach, and she is not only the coachee. You are going to be together learning from each other. All right. That's it. Basically, I have put you all the benefits here, and I thank you for your attention, and I will take your questions. Alors, I will start from the first. Oh, sorry, I missed a question. Can you reply to now questions? Okay, sorry, I missed. Okay. Attends. Start from the beginning. Alors, do you not think that the distribution between men and women in cyber comes from the fact that cyber is a field of engineering and that the problem of equality does come from there at first? Yes, there is a shortage of girls taking engineering path. This has been for long. This has been here for years. It's not improving. And you have to think about the image that these type of studies have at earlier stages, like at college. All right. So okay, it's about providing role models. So the current engineers have to come forward and talk about their love for IT and talk about their love for cyber, how adventurous this life is, and just cut the stereotypes down. Like, for example, when we have La Nuit du Hack, there are some little stands where younger, even kids can come and, familiarize themselves with cybersecurity. And so just taking time as a youngster to be in these stands is key, because then they find out, wow, it's fun and I can do it. So it's true. Like, for example, the Association of the IT Directors, called CIGREF, CIGREF, they're working on this, changing the image from an early age people have about IT and engineering. Israel ou Palestine? I don't understand some questions. Q&A. How important would you say prevention about gender equality in the media and university are? A prevention about gender inequality. You made a mistake. So important. The media accounts a lot for gender inequality. Actually, media is really good doing efforts, not about only gender matters, but also racial matters, etc. They have to improve a lot. I watch a lot American TV, and I can tell you one of the biggest channel, Bloomberg, because I like learning about world finance. They have so many ladies explaining you world international finance. I love it, because it's a kind of role model, and it's so important to see that everyone can be in every field. Okay, it's not the looks, it's not the sex, it's not the race. Let's forget about all this. Universities, yes, they can do a lot. Universities, the root comes from universal. University universal is so important. Universities are at the forefront of this. I usually feel they are almost useless because it doesn't touch the right people. I understand what you mean. There's no there's a French thing, n'est jamais aussi sourd celui qui ne veut pas entendre. So the deaf person is really, if you want to keep deaf, and you will remain deaf. So you're right, the right people are the ones who are perpetuating these mentalities and the ideologies, and it's very difficult to reach them. Sometimes we think, oh my God, we'll never manage, we just have to wait some generations before it happens, and it's a little bit true. What we need to put forward is people, to praise people, and to show, to put forward people who don't have this mentality and who have success, and who prove to the majority that such behaviors are just detrimental to everyone. Can you explain what is ecofeminism? All right. There's a new book in French all about ecofeminism. And this author has gathered all the tendencies from all over the world. And basically, it comes down to a single point where some women who have at heart protection of the environment, protection of biodiversity, protection of our biodiversity, because you have understood that we have a microbiota in our guts. And we discover more and more that we think better, our mind runs better when our guts run well. But we realize in our industrial societies, our gut microbiota is going unhealthy, not enough biodiversity. So basically, ecofeminism is like joining the fact, I don't know if I make it clear enough, and I'm probably superficial and I probably have my own view of things, but just to say that it's women who take on this challenge to tell the society, okay, we're going to focus now on protecting the environment and the species, men and women being included, the humankind being included in the species. All right? Based on a great sociologue, Andreas Renet, there is no equality. No, actually, it's wrong to say equality. I'm very sorry. I used this word. Difficult. I have talked about nature of women precisely because I don't want you to consider, I want you to be in the shoes of women to understand more their biology, because this is fundamental. Because, we studied biology, we know all these things. But then after college, we did, okay, we understood, even girls, we understood our hormones, okay, we closed the book and we forget about it. But actually, it runs our life, okay? It runs our mood. I have talked about premenstrual stress. It's not a syndrome. It's not a syndrome. It's something we all have, okay? It's normal. So we have to accept, we have to cope, to deal. We have lots of solutions with it. And men need also to accept this and to see this as a strength, to be attentive to one's internal biology. So it's a resilience factor. This is why what I said is women are really highly sensitive agents, and they are resilient agents for themselves and for their co-workers. All right, so we have to deepen our qualities. We're not equals. We have special qualities, and we have to accept and deepen them as to value them. All right. So when I say about equality, it's more like, for example, if you look at the pay, I talk about quantitative equality. Yes, you go to payscale.com, and you see the figures. And I don't see why at equal competence and type of jobs, I don't see why a woman would have to work 40 years and a man 32 years. Look at the pay scale gap, So this is just what I'm talking about. When I talk about equality, it's more about what is measurable, okay? It doesn't mean, okay, we equal in nature. I like the remark. On en reparlera quand il faudra soulever des choses lourdes. This is so funny because you are near Karnak, and there is the stones alignments from prehistoric men. And I really think they wanted to convey a deep message to humanity that we are resilient if we are together. Even one man cannot have moved these stones on his own. Just to say, just our minds being together in harmony, like making everything aligned, we will make big things, heavy things, terribly heavy things move. Wow. Okay. So, all right. Pauline Pauline Legnaud said in an article on The Point that under the guise of helping women, positive discrimination only develops. All right. I want to emphasize on the fact I didn't recommend any positive discrimination in this talk, because I am well aware of the counterproductive reactions that they trigger. There is a kind of self-defense, okay, and it raises a lot of reaction, like denial, or if not denial, like self-defense. It's normal, it's human, it's totally, I'm telling this totally in a neutral mind. So I didn't prescribe positive discrimination in this talk. I'm asking, and I don't think, even if I had, I don't think it devalues women. Those notion of guilt and value. I hope I'm not into this. I hope I have not conveyed this, because it's not constructive. Any time we point at someone, immediately the reaction will be to not contribute. Okay, it's in our brains like that. But I have not talked about quota, for example, quota in COMEX, which might happen one day if nothing happens. In my office, women have more connectiveness than men, sometimes more, sometimes men have more. Do any study exist with a particular question? Not fixed. Can you tell me, you are in a digital company? He's not here. I will answer someone else. Is there any difference between tertiary sector job and cybersecurity jobs for women? Yes. The figures in tertiary, I don't have them just in my brain just now. You can go to DARES website, DARES. They will give you, it's higher. Basically, you see the numbers I know is for digital. Okay, let's make a difference between digital workplaces. Many places are digitalized, okay? So tertiary sector, service sector, digitalized nowadays. So I don't have in my live memory, I don't have the figure of women. But in digitalizing sector, I mean jobs where you digitalize, you create tools for digitalization, like you work for a cloud company, okay? So the figures is 21% of staff is female. And in cybersecurity, in 2019, it dropped, okay? It dropped from 11% to 7%. So I hope you will remember these figures for the future. Okay, I don't have. I'm rushing late. I have to. I can't answer all questions now. I have to send you the evaluation form. I'm sorry if I could not explain everything. I will put you the evaluation in the chat, and you will give me some feedback. All right. So thank you for your attention, and have a good booklet, self-evaluation booklet, and set up your uni program. And all the best for this confinement. And take care of yourselves. Bye. Okay, so one more question. Yes, it's true. I did in the beginning say that it's partly a social construct. That's what I have introduced a few adverbs to nuance these gender studies. Why do you think about jobs where men can't work? For example, in childcare, there is almost no men. This is a bit silly, actually, to consider that the men can't take care of kids. But I think there are too many pedocriminal scandals that we are not organized yet. Okay, we are not yet organized to make very safe very small child care really protected. So on this account, I think we can, of course, and it's good to share these kind of jobs with also men, but we need to be in a very highly prevention of pedo crimes happening. Okay. Try to catch up with the. According to The Economist, the gender pay gap is less than 3%. And no, okay. No. In France, it's not 3%. It's not 3%. Surely not. The figure is mainly 20% is mainly American because they have more data. Okay, I can recheck on the precisely the French pay gap, but no, not 3%. I'm sorry to say. How do you explain the low number of citation of Ayurveda compared to traditional Chinese method in most of the scientific article? According to, okay. Well, it's on the rise because you have a lot of Indian medics who have been learning in USA. China is a bit ahead. I think there will be a wave of scientific articles on Ayurveda. It's just a bit c'est décalé in time. Do you think this imbalance of gender in IT is due to the picture that is conveyed by the media culture? Yes, but not only. It's mainly our daily habits, mainly about just involving women. You know, if you have a little sister, you're on your computer, she can do it. You can let her come and explain her. it starts at 3, it starts at 4, anything can be taught. And this I really, really think that in my career, just to come back to my experience, if some men, some directors, some bosses didn't say, you can do it, I trust you, then I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. So I really think it's about sharing your knowledge, and trusting, and voila. Anything can be taught. Okay. Thank you very much and take care of yourself. Bye bye.